Hey everybody, it's Tech Tuesday. This is Rick Uzzi, and my special guest today is Jason Young, VP of Support Services at Zcorm. We'll be right back. Hi folks, again this is Rick Uzzi. We're here for Tech Tuesday today, and with me is Jason Young. Again, Jason is our Vice President of Support Services. He manages all aspects of our call centers. And Jason, welcome.
Hello.
Hope you're doing well. Where are you today?
I'm in our Gordon location
Gordon call
today.
Center. Awesome. Okay. Well, I want to have you on, Jason, today to talk about kind of how technical support has evolved over the years, because both of us have been with this company for a long time. In fact, before we get started, I just want to mention actually that we are available, since we're live, we're available to chat with you if you have questions. There may be some people on that are using our support services that may have questions for you, or maybe some people that are not using our support services. Maybe they have their own call center and they've got questions and want to hear from an expert. So if you'd like to do that, just go to the chat area in YouTube and type in a question, and we'll see it at some point and try to answer those questions for you, or just pop in and say hello. So again, I've been here, I've been with this company since 1995, and at that point we were a dial-up internet provider. That's pretty much what we were doing. And at that point, I don't know if you know this, Jason, but our office, it was a small office, and our back room consisted of some wooden shelves and some, I think they were 14.4 modems stacked up in stacks. I think we started to get some 36K or whatever they were modems at some point. That was the real cool technology at that point, all stacked up. I think we had a Livingston Portmaster, so some of the people that are listening right now might go, oh yeah, I remember that in the dial-up days. But obviously, internet was very different then. It was brand new, and internet support was different. I think you were around doing support with dial-up, right?
Yeah. I was. I started with the company in 1999, so we were 56K modems were the thing, and with big leap. Windows 95, 98, that type of technology, where we had to call users back once we did a troubleshooting step because they only had one phone line in their home, and you'd have to disconnect to make a call back. So phone calls sometimes could last, hours, and you'd go back and forth making additional callbacks to them. Just having to have them try something new, whether it be, resetting the modem or trying on a knit string. Some of that stuff was our go-to stuff as far as troubleshooting went.
Yeah, I remember that because, again, this was dial-up, so it wasn't an always-on connection. So people, when they wanted to connect generally, unless they were, some people tried to stay connected, but if they weren't doing that, generally they'd dial up, you'd get that modem squeal, and then the equipment wasn't always really compatible. So you had lots of people making modems, lots of people making the equipment that the ISP had, and a lot of times you had to kind of there was some kind of secret sauce that you had to get in there to make things work, and I guess that was a knit strings and some other things, right?
Right, that's right. You would turn off stuff like V.90 technology and that type of stuff to stabilize connections, and you use that through a knit strings. But it was pretty common stuff for us to spend, try this for a day and we'll call you back. That type of stuff as far as troubleshooting went. It was sometimes it would be days or even a week before we finalized the call.
And back then you were supporting, it was primarily the connection. That was a big part of it because, again, it wasn't always on. So it wasn't something where it was on and you kind of set it and forget it for a while unless something went bad. You had that, and then you had email.
Right.
And what other kinds of things were you supporting back then?
That was mainly the two things. I mean, you would have things like people with Yahoo Messenger and Hotmail, and some of those things were just coming around. But your email client and connectivity were the big things. They wanted to, it was a big deal to even attach a 1 meg file and send it through email. So sometimes we'd have to resort to teaching them FTP and those types of things to transfer files that were larger because we had an email program called Eudora back then that was the one we always recommended. It was freeware, but it dealt with larger attachments a lot better. So we would spend time, downloading the client, and it wasn't like it is today where you could just click download and then you're ready. You had to wait sometimes hours to get things downloaded, and then again have to call them back and then work through that. So those were the days.
In those early days, were you doing a lot of education? Because again, the internet was pretty new. I guess maybe not when you started, '99, but how much education was there on browsers and those kinds of things?
Oh, there's a lot. I mean, you could use the term browser and people wouldn't know what you were talking about. And I can tell numerous stories where I remember, right click on my computer so you could go to properties and get into settings, and the guy had actually taken a marker and written the word click on the screen. So there were some times that people would call and ask things like, "Is the internet open on Sunday?" Or how do I buy online? Can I put my debit card in the A drive, the old floppy drive? So those types of things. It was you would get the crazy call from time to time of people that just were not real educated and novice, and back then computers were just making their way into everyone's home. It wasn't. It was almost a luxury item. It wasn't like everybody had.
That's funny that you mentioned was the internet open on Sundays, because again, back when I started dial-up internet, we had one guy doing tech support who ate at his desk and I guess didn't go to the bathroom, or I don't know, maybe he had a box of Depends next to his desk. But we were not obviously 24/7, and a lot of that's changed over time now. And back then, the internet was really kind of a novelty to people. So they got their connection. We were working with a lot of new ISPs. Once we got out of we didn't get out of the dial-up internet business, but we started being a wholesaler for other providers, helping them get in the business. And at that time, it was pretty much dial-up. So all they needed was a bank of modems themselves. And we were doing some back-end services for them, including technical support. So then we started adding support people. But it was still kind of a novelty service, where if the internet went down, people were kind of like, well, internet's down, I'll just wait till it comes back up again. And then we started working with phone companies and then later cable companies where they were offering internet service. And again, in the beginning, it was almost like a novelty, or it was not the most important service they had. So they had their phone service from the telephone company, or they had their TV from the cable company, and then they had an internet on top of that internet. And if it went down again, it was like, well, the internet's down. But that's not so much the case today, is it?
Not at all. I mean, it's almost like people can't live without data transfer now, right? They want anything from their home security system to, we have smart refrigerators now. So from the little kid playing the gaming in the back room and the parents want to make sure that his Fortnite's up, what have you. It's almost like, it's a necessity. It's almost like having power now. So people spend a lot of time linking everything in their home network, from Google Home to Alexa. There's so many things that they use day to day that it just becomes where it's almost essential that it stays up. So
in fact,
stability is a big deal.
In fact, back then again, maybe the primary service was telephone service or cable TV service. Today, it's almost switched where the primary service is the broadband, and in some cases that's where they're getting their voice and their TV with VoIP or IPTV. So that kind of is a good segue into how things have changed as far as what you guys are supporting. So it's not just internet anymore. It's still broadband, but you've got all these other services wrapped around it, right?
Yeah, that's right. You have smart TVs where Netflix is part of their day-to-day routine and things that you have to deal with inside the home network. In the older days, even when cable modems first came out, there was the one desktop computer in an office or in a bedroom or something that the user had. Now all the devices, from their phones to their tablets to their laptops to the smart TVs, security systems, and on and on. And all of those things operate on that one connectivity. So your Wi-Fi has become something that is wasn't known years ago, but now is essential to having a stable connectivity. If you get interference on that Wi-Fi in the home network, that becomes an issue because speed's a problem. Everybody wants things that are instantaneous now. It used to be we would wait 30 seconds for a web page to load, and that was fine with us. Nowadays, it's got to come up or it's slow and they're not getting what they paid for. And now we're complaining and we need to, work to make the speed better.
Yeah, and, mentioning that Wi-Fi, for example, so now you've got home networks that you guys support. And then again, a lot of times if the connection is slow, it might not be the internet connection. So it could be that the cable connection that the customer has is fine, but it's the Wi-Fi network. So how has this changed the way you guys approach support and having to deal with home networks?
Well, oftentimes you have to, you'll find yourself connecting one device directly to the modem to run a speed test to make sure, is the problem the service or is the problem in the Wi-Fi? So you have to diagnose it really in two different steps. It's no longer I have a speed problem. It's I have a speed problem, and where is the speed problem? Is it my service that's the problem? Do I have an SNR problem on a cable plan or what have you? Or is it the Wi-Fi with interference? And maybe it's a cordless phone that's right by the router, or maybe it's something as easy as that causes the problem. But you have to find yourself now looking at two different areas: the service and then in the home. So you spend time diagnosing both sides, and then once you find which side's the problem, then where is the problem within that side? So troubleshooting becomes segmented in service and in-home Wi-Fi, and then finding where it is inside the location.
And again, another change as time has gone on with what you guys are supporting. As you mentioned, you've got all these devices. So when customers call in, what's the philosophy with the service that you guys provide as far as devices? How far do you go with supporting different kinds of devices, and what's the philosophy generally?
Well, the philosophy, in my opinion, is that if their devices do not work, the customer's perception is it's an ISP problem. So what we want to do is hold their hand all the way through it. And we know, the iPhone is an Apple product, but we want to spend time holding their hand, setting it up on the home networking, teaching them some basic things, customer education about their device, so that their perception is that their internet service works well, right? I mean, it's okay to have the service, but what they're buying the service for is for their iPad or whatever to work well. And we got to take time to make sure that they are, that's happening for them.
What about things, again, we've got other things that have come in to play here. Security suites, you guys will help people with that as well?
Right. There's been some in recent years. There's been a big thing with safety for children on the internet, as an example. Like Net Nanny and those types of things, where on top of just getting viruses, now they're worried about people chatting with their 8-year-old inappropriately, or a 12-year-old looking at material they don't need to be. So there's filters and things. So we want to try to make it an overall good experience for the user. And if the parent has a concern, we want to take time to educate and do what we can do as far as Net Nanny and those types of products, and recommend those and help get them running right, so that that users aren't abused, or little children are not abused on the internet. Safety on the internet for small people is a big deal, and I spend some time speaking in our local schools about that subject.
And
parents are very interested.
Yeah. And speaking of abuse, that can come from the other direction too. So that's something else, I guess, that we've had to pick up over time with maybe customers that have got a virus or something that's sending out spam or some other kinds of things. How do you guys handle those?
Yeah, we do. Once we've identified somebody who is spamming, we will, take the time to call and educate the customer on cleaning their PC and all of those things. They might have a little Trojan on the PC or what have you, and we got to clean that off, and then make sure that they're not, one, hurting our email system, but two, we don't want them to become a spam bot anyway. We want to be able to make them, have a better service than that. And that leads also into those times that you might have somebody who has an open Wi-Fi network. They didn't put a WEP key or WPA or what have you to secure it. And then they might be in an apartment complex and somebody's using their connectivity to download a movie illegally or those types of things. So we have to be able to identify a multitude of things on how they abuse the internet, and then help them solve it. Right? We want to get it where it's clean and make sure they're educated enough to understand that, we want to make sure this is how this happened. This is what you do to prevent it from happening, and educate them that way.
And so tell me a little bit about like hours of operation. You guys obviously were open 24/7, but I think one of the things that's changed over time for us is it's not so much cookie cutter anymore, is it? There's different services that we provide, and we have a lot of different. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, we are 24/7 operational. Obviously, we have technicians available to answer the phone 24/7, but we are customizing different types of services, whether it be overflow, after hours, weekends, holidays, that type of stuff. And then on top of that, we're not just, this is how we're going to troubleshoot it. What we like to do and is kind of have a pre-implementation interview where we want to become an extension of the affiliate's operation. So what we want to do is handle users very similar to the way their customer care people would. And in doing that, that allows us to have, or makes us have different procedures and things in place for every affiliate based on their needs, right? It's no longer reboot the cable modem, hook up a computer to that location. Is the speed good? Okay, bye. We don't do that anymore. It's really trying to help with the full, I call it, internet experience, and that's what's important to us.
That must be a challenge for training, I would think, having these different various different models.
Without a doubt. We have skill-based routing in our call center that allows, the people that are kind of basic DHCP cable modems, and a new hire will start in that group. And as they, get continued training, they pass tests to let them, we will open up more queues and things to them as their knowledge base grows. So that's the way we manage that process.
Okay. So what's the biggest challenge, do you think, just managing call centers for you? Is it training, or is it finding people? What is the biggest challenge?
I think for us, I think because of where we're located and we have, tech schools and things around us, it's not as hard recruiting as it is for others. But I will say call spikes are probably, anybody who's been in the call center world knows exactly what I'm talking about. You get 50 calls an hour, and then all of a sudden between 7 and 8, you get 600 calls for whatever big backbone problem might have happened that took out part of the Southeast or what have you. And those spikes, you still have to be able to manage hold time. And, that's, for us, we use safety nets with our tier 2 people who are only brought on the phone when all the tier 1s are busy. So we're able to, kind of overstaff with them, and then they take live calls as that comes in. So we're able to manage it a little bit with staffing. But at the end of the day, there are sometimes spikes are so large, you have customers holding and there's no way to get to them.
All right, well, it sounds like you guys have got everything under control down there. I know we get some great reviews from those that we're doing support for. So again, we're grateful to you guys for kind of holding down the fort and being there 24/7. I know our customers, those be the ISPs and their customers, very happy that they can always contact somebody for support and get a high quality level of support, which brings to mind, again, what is the philosophy as far as how you handle calls, as far as the amount of time that's spent on a call? If I remember talking to you in the past, and it's the amount of time we spend is not really an issue for you. We want to reduce it. But.
No, not at all. I don't. There is nothing in our evaluation process that would ding a tech for spending too much time on the phone. The biggest thing and the biggest driver of high hold times in the call center world is no first-time resolution. So I harp on the first-time resolution side of it. And as long as we're fixing it and we're not getting 70% of the users calling back with the second call, then the hold time is managed up front. So my philosophy is fix them right the first time, they don't call back, and you end up with a better hold time overall.
That's a great way to look at it, because so often it seems like you're on the phone with somebody and you can just feel like they're trying to get you off the phone, because maybe that's how they're rated or judged. So.
Right. Yeah, I've spent time in the industry, speaking to other call center executives, and a lot of them are, 8 minute, and I'm going to hit my watch, and it's time for you to get off the phone. And that's kind of the philosophy they do. Our average talk time on the flip side of that is around 11 and a half minutes per call, and that's a cable modem data call. So we don't care. And I see people spend 45 minutes. Now, I do have floor supervisors that check in at the 20-minute mark to make sure we're making progress and it's not a training issue for the tech. But if it's a novice user that needs us holding their hand all the way through, then we're not going to rush her off. We'll take the time to do that.
That's great. Okay. Well, I appreciate your time today. This was great and hopefully educational for those who were watching, as far as, again, if they're in the call center business, they can kind of see a little bit of how we do it, and if they're customers, they can get a feeling there, again, as how we're handling their customers.
Okay.
I want to thank everybody for joining us today. If you enjoyed this video, I hope that you will take a moment maybe to subscribe to our videos. Just click the subscribe button and click the little notification bell, and you'll get notified anytime that we're live. And then also you can give us a thumbs up if you like the video. I don't see that we've had any questions come in, Jason, but we may, after this airs, we may have some questions come in. So if you're watching this recorded, you can still go to the little chat box, leave a question, we'll be notified of that, and Jason will get in touch with you if we have any questions come in from folks that want to know more about our call center services. If you don't get our call center services today and you're interested in that, just send us an email to info@zcorum.com. That's info@zcorum.com. We'll be happy to go ahead and respond, and I'll get you in touch with somebody who can tell you about our services and what it is that we offer. So, Jason, thanks a lot. I appreciate your time.
All right, thank you.
We will get together sometime in the future, and we'll find another topic to chat about. Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you soon.